Okay, so the conversation today is all about proven methods to overcome procrastination. And regally crowned Esther, Sukit, Shaqueen, Evelyn, Robert, amazing. Absolutely love that you guys are taking part in the conversation today and everyone else who is joining us. So the first thing that I want to say is this. We remember kind of 10% of what we read, 20% of what we hear, but 80% of what we personally experience and 95% of what we teach others. Now, why am I sharing this with you? Because throughout the conversation today, I want you guys to engage in the chat. I want you guys to have fun, and I want you to be able to speak with me, because if you can learn, if you can engage, if you can enter this discussion, what happens is it genuinely becomes interesting to serve you at a higher level. So with that said, we've put some fires in the chat. We're ready to rock and roll. So let's talk about why this is so important. Well, the truth is, when we look into procrastination, what is procrastination? Procrastination is ultimately where you are distracting yourself from a task that you're meant to be doing. Now, why is that important? Because too often in our lives, I see people that will say, I'm procrastinating, when really they're just allowing themselves to chill out, but they feel guilty that they're not working on the business. And this is why it's so important to understand, because the aim here is not to work 24/7 of our lives. And Cheyenne, welcome to the live. The aim is to be able to focus on what matters most to us at the times that matter most. Like, why do I say that? Because too often we get ourselves overwhelmed and not being sure where to focus. And instead, what I want to be able to do today is to give you actual steps that you can go through to move you forward from a procrastination standpoint. Now, I know there's going to be lots of people attending live, but some people that can't. So if you have to leave the live and you would like some more resources to help with procrastination, I need you to put a number 8 in the chat, okay? Put an 8 in the chat. And that way I can get back to you after the live is done, after we've gone through everything, and I can actually send you some extra resources to help you on your journey. So please do put an 8 in the chat. Lisa, I saw that 8. I'll be getting back to you. And anyone else, please do put that in so that we can rock and roll. So with that said, let's start to go on to the first element here. Now, it's all good and well giving, tools and strategies, but I think you have to understand it actually applies. So let me give you a quick example here. I want you to imagine a flea, okay? Just bear with me, a flea, okay? And a flea can actually jump, I think 100 to 200 times its body weight, like up vertically. It's insane. So it can literally jump up to 32 inches. Now, what's crazy about this is the following. If you get that flea and you put it in a mayonnaise jar, what happens? Well, it's a flea that can jump 32 inches. So it's going to go bam, and it's going to hit the top, right? It hits the top. And then what does it do? It goes again, and it hits it, and it hits it. And then at some point, it makes an adjustment. And it learns that it actually can't go to the very top. So it will jump just to the top without hitting itself and then go back down. What would happen is if you had that flea have babies, those fleas would also jump to the very top, but not higher. Now, why is that important? Because if you imagine that you're only going to jump that high, then you will learn from your parents. The environment around you is causing you to jump less, right? Why is that? It's because there's a lid on the top. So what's really important is when we're looking at overcoming this, we need to be able to remove the lid out of our own limitations, because too often we copy what's in our environment. Our environment restricts us in moving forward. So when we look into procrastination, I want you to think about, what is the lid on your mayonnaise jar? What is it in your environment that is currently distracting you? Because too often it's easy to procrastinate, right? Think about what you procrastinate on most. In fact, let me give an example here. In the chat, I want you to put on right now what you usually procrastinate on. Is it finances? Is it work? Is it sales? Is it life? Like, what is it that you procrastinate on? So put that in the chat now. Let's see what people actually procrastinate on to make it more relevant to you. Because my guess is, let's say this finance, right? You're procrastinating on finance. Christina, I appreciate you saying everything. Okay, everyone's procrastinating on everything. All right. So when it comes to procrastination, right? And we are procrastinating on everything, on finance, on research, on all these different things. The truth is, what's going on is there is something in our environment that we're procrastinating to. Okay. And it's not just about self-regulation. What's important is to be able to look at, what are the most important elements here for us to move forward from and avoid in our environment? So as an example, I used to really struggle by watching TV, watching Netflix, watching all those things that I would just have that there in the background. Now, I remember someone said to me, if you put your TV in a box, lock it, and put the keys downstairs in a jar, you're not going to watch TV. That's actually the same with different apps on my phone. I delete apps that I find distracting and then I re-download them on the weekend. This is really important because what it does is it creates a barrier for you for moving forward. So instead of you constantly being able to go to that distraction and that procrastination, put a time limit. Another example is my other half puts a time limit on her TikTok because she knows she can kind of go down that rabbit hole. So if you are prone to going through rabbit holes, make sure instead to take a step back and change your environment because you want this environment to support you in what you're doing. One thing that I will say as well, if you're enjoying this conversation, if you're having fun, please do share the room and share this with anyone you think would benefit because my aim here is to support you guys in the best way that I can. I saw Lance has joined on both Clubhouse and Insta Live. So you got a little bit of me in video and audio as well. That's fantastic. Okay, so number one, change your environment. That is one of the best things that you can do. If you change your environment, it's much more challenging to procrastinate. Did you know when you go to a coffee shop, you're less likely to procrastinate? Why? Because some of the things aren't there. So that's really, really important. So number two is something that I first learned when I worked with this lady called Crystal. Now, she was a coach in the US, and the biggest challenge that she had is she said, Ben, I just can't seem to get done what I need to in the day. So I said, well, tell me, what is it that you want to be able to do? And she says, I want to be able to build my business. I want to be able to have a bigger impact. I want to be able to get more clients. I need to do sales. I need to do marketing. And there's loads going on that she does not know where to start. Does that remind you of anyone? If you've ever tried to take on too much in your life, I want you to put an emoji of kind of a head blowing up in the chat. Okay, if that's you, you ever try to take on too much, I want you to put a head on the chat. I've got a yes. I'm looking for an emoji. I'm looking for the blowy up emoji. You know the little the head one there. So please do put that in the chat if that's you. Regally Crowned, appreciate that. So what does that mean? It means that you're attempting to take on too much. So in order to do that, remember this. If you chase two rabbits, they're both going to get away. What we need to do is to focus on a clear outcome. Focus on a clear outcome because too often we get ourselves overwhelmed. There's too much happening and we aren't doing what we need to in order to move forward. So you need a very, very clear outcome on what you're doing in order to move forward in a more sustainable way. Too often, the reason why we procrastinate is because we do not know what to do. You've said, oh, hey, I'm going to do marketing. And then you sit down and do marketing and you don't know what you're doing, right? If I sat down to this live and I had nothing prepared, I would just be chatting. Instead, I need to be able to understand exactly what I want to take you through in order to move you forward. And that's the same thing for you guys. We need to plan, we need to prepare and get a very clear outcome for all the different tasks we're doing in our day so that once again, we can actually move forward as opposed to procrastinating and feeling unsure. Because very often procrastination is a symptom of the reality, which is where you don't know what you're actually doing. And that's where planning is very important to take a step back. Now, the next question that I have for you is quite interesting. And I really appreciate everyone taking part in the chat. I've got Naomi, we've got Nikia, we've got Coach K, loving all these. Kesha, love that so much. That massive blowy up head there. What time do you procrastinate? Now, what time do you procrastinate? And I'm really curious, especially for those on Insta, on LinkedIn, please do type as well. It all comes through. What time do you usually procrastinate? Because number three is where we're going to be looking into managing your energy, right? So we got some at 6 p.m. I'm curious if there's going to be a theme here. So we got after work, we've got 5 p.m. Okay, so at the moment, we're looking into people procrastinating in the afternoon. I've got one person on all day. Any others here? Once again, feel free to share that if that's you. So one of the things that you'll probably learn is about understanding at different points in time, your energy is either high or it's low. Now, if you are putting your most challenging tasks in the morning, for example, like Brian Tracy, eat that frog, right? What's going to happen is the following. You're going to attempt to do something. And for some people, they are great in the morning. For me, if you give me the task in the morning, I'm going to crush it. It's going to be easy. I'm going to nail it and it's easy. But for some people, that's the worst thing to do. because they need a quick win. They need a small win in the morning in order to move forward more sustainably. So once you actually understand, like, where are you best at actually managing your energy and getting stuff done, you need to then put the right tasks in the right places to enable you to move forward. Because too often we attempt to do, we attempt to fit into the industry standard of 9 to 5 when maybe that won't work for you. Maybe it's better to do 12 till 9 or 6 till 2. I don't know what will work best for you, but the aim is to figure out a routine where you can manage your energy sustainably. One of the reasons why I think a lot of people, especially, struggle in the evening, they crush their business, they do everything, but they struggle in the evening, is the following. It's because your capacity for self-control is often at the lowest at the end of the day. Why? Because after having so much control in the day, you're attending meetings, you are looking after yourself, you're helping different people out. At the end of the day, you just don't have that left. There's something called revenge procrastination. It's so fascinating. I did a post on this previously, but that's for another call. So ultimately, what it means is we're not managing our energy in a way where we can get stuff done accordingly. So if you're procrastinating, if you find that you have a tendency in the evening to do certain things, what we want to do is to take a step back, breather, and manage your energy more efficiently. There was a lady that I worked with called Sophie who had such a big challenge of managing her coaching business. She would be attempting to do content in the morning, getting herself overwhelmed, procrastinating into the afternoon, then she would beat herself up for not doing enough. So as opposed to beating yourself up for not doing enough, and as opposed to kind of getting stressed out, we want to actually look into managing your energy. So how do you do this? We want to be able to understand what are the most challenging tasks for you to do. What are the hours where you're committed to getting things done? And then you can actually move things forward more sustainably. So this is where maybe you've got a creative style. Maybe there's something else. But the aim there is to really rock and roll and find a way that works for you. So proven ways. Number one, change your environment. Your environment has such a big impact on the way in which you procrastinate. So changing your environment is the first one. Next, focus on a very clear outcome. If you do not know your outcome, it's going to be very difficult for you to actually follow through because you don't know what to do. So the easiest thing is to procrastinate and do something different. Next, manage your energy. Where focus goes, energy flows. You need to manage your energy in a certain way to enable you to move forward more sustainably. So we've covered those three. The next one, I've got a funny story for you. I heard this, when did I hear this? I think I heard this about a year ago. And when I first heard it, it cracked me up. It really did. I was like, I can't believe how hilarious the story, but it really did resonate. So I hope it resonates with you too. And it's a story of a dog sitting on a nail. And actually, before I go into that, Lena, I saw you mentioned you want to hear more on revenge procrastination. I will definitely do that. I haven't got it today, but I have got a post on it. So I'll tag you in it when it's there. But I will be doing a live next week on the 6 types of procrastinators, and I will be covering revenge procrastination there. So this won't be at 2 p.m. UK time, this will be at 3 p.m. And I will be covering revenge procrastination. It's hilarious, and active procrastination, but that's not for today. We're not looking into the types, we're looking at how to overcome it. And we can look into the types next week. So let's look into the story of this dog sitting on a nail. Let me explain. So there's an old man, right? And he's sitting on a porch with his dog, right? And a gentleman walks up and he hears this dog groaning, right? And I'm not going to do a groan. I know you're thinking I'm doing a groan. I'm not doing a groan. And as the man is on this rocking chair, right, he's going back and forth, this gentleman goes up to the old man and says, why is your dog groaning? And he says, well, because he's sitting on a nail. And the gentleman replies, well, why doesn't he move? And then he says, because it's not hurting him enough to move. Now, that is a really, really powerful story. Because too often there are people that complain about things. We complain about procrastination. We complain about all these different stuff. But what we don't do is actually do something about it. And that's because we don't have the leverage in order to actually do things in a different way. And I'll give you a direct example. For those of you who don't know, I do speak Chinese. That wasn't always the case. As you can tell, I'm very, very British. So when I first started learning Chinese, it was incredibly challenging. I would procrastinate on it literally for fun. It was awful. I would look into the characters and I would do anything else but Chinese. And maybe there's something in your business where you kind of feel the same. There's something that you just do not like to do and it just stresses you out. So what do you do? Well, for me, I realized I needed to get some leverage. There needed to be a reason for me to follow through. It's not just about learning a language. And it's the same for you guys. Whatever you're procrastinating on, my guess is this. You may not have that real reason that it's a must yet. It's a should. And remember, we don't do our shoulds. We only do our musts. What I recommend you do is you remove every should you should do, because if you've got too many shoulds, then you don't actually do what you need to do, and then you feel guilty for not doing your shoulds. So you might as well not just set shoulds in the first place. There we go. So that's my little should rant now. So with that said, for my Chinese, I realized that I needed a challenge and I needed a reason. So what I did is I set myself a target. I said, I'm going to do a TED Talk in Chinese, and I want to be able to inspire people using a different language. Now, why am I saying that to you? Because by forcing myself to have a clear target, something that I'm aiming for, that is leverage. I don't know what the leverage is for you. I remember setting up my business out in China. The leverage was, if I don't do this, I'm going to be in a lot of shit, right? So I might as well get this sorted. I don't know what that leverage is for you, but I do know this. If you don't know your reason why, you're going to go on these roller coasters where you feel motivated and then you fall off track. You feel motivated and then you fall off track. If you've ever done that and you kind of have gone through those cycles of procrastination, I want you to put a roller coaster emoji in the chat. Okay, put a roller coaster emoji. If that's you and you've kind of gone through those roller coasters up and down and you know what that's like, put that roller coaster in, because I want to see if this is resonating with you. I've got a yes, yes, yes from Nina there. Love that. So we mentioned about knowing your why and the reasons behind it. Now, I've got a secret trick here, okay? I've got a trick. I'm going to be honest. This is pretty cool. So this is my little trick here. This is game changing, by the way. I literally took on a chap last week, and I was telling him this, and he was like, "This is awesome." So I've got 3 roller coasters there from Lena. I've got some from Erica, from Shay, Tota, Dana, Aisha, and Tasnim. Loving these roller coasters. So how do we overcome this? Very simple. You need to create a new persona. Now, what does that mean? Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that I am the same person when I do a live as I am coaching, as I am when I'm doing marketing, I am on stage? There's different versions that we take on ourselves. When you say hello to a baby, you're not in business mode. You're like, oh, that is so cute. Look at the little baby. That's what you do. You're taking on a different persona. Now, it's the same when we're taking on different tasks and we're doing different things in our business. Something that I used to hate is admin. Admin and me, we're not friends. I'm going to be honest, we're not. We just don't seem to get on well. The same with taxes. It used to be something I really struggled with until I thought, what kind of persona could I take on? I'd actually enjoy doing this. I could actually make it fun. When I looked into taxes, I said, well, what would happen if I was a regulation chess player? If I had a bit of fun, if I was a regulation chess player so that I could make more money. Now I'm motivated. Now I want to follow through. Now, instead of the meaning being I'm going to do my taxes, the meaning is I'm going to save more money. When I'm doing admin, instead of me doing admin, I think I want to be a responsible family man. I'm using my family as leverage. Now, suddenly, what am I doing? I'm creating that leverage so that I follow through. For too many people here that are struggling and procrastinating, what you don't have is a persona that you can move into. So why do I say move into it? Because there'll be people that will say, oh, I procrastinate. I'm a procrastinator. No, you're not. It's not like you went out the womb and you were like, oh, sorry, I'm procrastinating today. I don't want to go. Right? That's not what happened, right? So ultimately, I know that's a silly story, but bear with me. We're not suddenly procrastinators because there are some things that you do, i.e. you've joined this live. You didn't procrastinate it, like you're here now, right? So what does that mean? It means that you're actually actively in doing this. So it's not something that you are, it's a behavior that you have created. Now, why is that distinction really important? Because if we create another persona, it's sometimes easier to move into. For example, when you're doing sales, sometimes it's easier to think of being a sales king, or like you're going to the gym, you're going to be an ultimate Spartan warrior. You come up with a persona. So what I'd like for you guys to do now is to have a bit of fun. Okay, have a little bit of fun. And I want you to write down a persona that if you were to kind of do or live, it would enable you to actually kind of follow through and you'd have a bit of fun whilst doing a task. Now, I know I'm being creative here and I'm going to make you guys think on the spot. And there is no right or wrong. So I want you to write down some personas that if you were, would actually inspire you. And I want you to put it in the chat. So let me give you some examples of what I like to be. I like to be a lifelong lover, so I actually follow through on my relationship things. I like to be an ultimate Spartan warrior in the gym. I like to be a business chief extraordinaire where I am thinking of new strategies to move my business forward. I like to be a Yoda of strategy. There's elements there where I'm the regulation chess player. It could be the sales king, the marketing genius. I don't know what that is. But my challenge to you is to write something down. Now, the chat has gone blank, so people are overthinking. Now, my guess is you procrastinate on other things too. So I want you to write something down because if you do, it'll make a difference. I know I'm throwing some new information, but in order to move you forward, I'd really challenge you, if you can, to write something down, because I think this is going to really, really help you. So with that said, we've gone through the first 4, right? Branding badass. Love that, Lena. That is awesome. Regulation king. Nice. Okay, cool. We're getting there. Okay, so when it comes to what we've covered so far, right? I'd like to be heart and brain fit. Ooh, I like that too. Okay, so we've covered 4. Let's just rewind, because I know people are dipping in and out, and I want everyone on the same page. So we mentioned number 1, change your environment. Number 2, focus on a clear outcome. Number 3, manage your energy. And number 4, know your why. In particularly, if you can actually get that leverage on yourself, you're going to follow through. The different streams of income genie. Oh, Aisha, that is awesome. I'm loving these. This is brilliant. Really creative. Okay, so once again, if you're enjoying this conversation, please do click that share button, share this room. We want to impact as many people as we can to stop procrastinating and move themselves forward. So share the conversation. Feel free to put something in there about what you're enjoying, and then we're going to move ourselves forward. So I've got another story for you guys. This one I came across today when I was prepping. I was like, what story can I say that I think would actually get people laughing and a little bit different here? So this is a story about 4 people, okay? Named everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. Now, bear with me. Now, there was an important job to be done, and everybody was asked to do it. Everybody was sure somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. And then somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job. Now, everybody thought anybody could do it, but nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. So it ended up that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done. Why is that important, right? Because when we say someday, everyone, all this, we don't actually do that. When we say someday, when we say tomorrow, we aren't accountable to actually get it done. Step 5 is you need to make yourself accountable, seriously accountable to move forward. One of the biggest things that I've seen is when people aren't following through, often they're waiting for a crisis to happen. Well, they're what I describe as a crisis creator. We'll speak about that next week. Now, in essence, that's where someone needs a deadline to get something done. Now, what I've found is when you have someone that you can get accountable and you can make sure they follow through on stuff, they're going to enable them to move forward in a different way. So a great technique for this is social proof. If you leverage your network, it's going to be one of the best ways to enable you to keep yourself accountable. Now, why do I say that? Because what you're doing is you're getting leverage on yourself. So I think you can keep yourself personally accountable, but I have found we will do much more for others than we would ever do for ourselves. So if you can think of a way to actually make yourself accountable to someone else, to somebody, to some people, it's going to help you move forward, because suddenly you're like, okay, I'm actually going to do this. And then you're going to follow through. I'm the same. I hire coaches too, because you want to make sure that you're moving things forward in a sustainable way. And you may say, oh, I'm accountable, I can do this. But I've got one exercise for you, and I guarantee this is going to show you how powerful accountability is. Now, the caveat to this is you cannot be driving, okay? I don't want you driving here, but if you're at home, if you're walking around, this is for you, okay? And I don't care where you are. If you're on the street, you're going to have to do this. I want you to raise your hand as high as you can. Okay, I'll do it with you. As high as you can. No, as high as you can. Like, literally, reach higher. Raise your hand right now as high as you possibly can. Okay, cool. Now put your hand down. Otherwise, people are going to think you're quite strange. Now, I want you to put a high 5 in the chat if you raised your hand, and when I said raise your hand even higher, you raised it higher. If that's you, I want you to put a wave or a hand in the chat. If that's you, you had a wave, you had a hand, there was something there, and you went higher, I want you to put your hand. So Dawn, appreciate that, okay? Why? Magali, Mercedes, Lisa, they're flying through. Okay. Why is this exercise important? When I say reach as high as you can, when I say, are you doing enough? When I say this, what happens? You raise your hand to a certain height. Just like the flea story I started with, when I say even higher, when I say push even higher, what happens? Your arm goes up. You move yourself higher because I'm adding leverage. I'm forcing you to go through. Suddenly, you're pushing yourself higher than you thought was possible. That's why accountability is so important. That's why you need someone outside of you, because by doing that, what you have is someone that can actually help support you. This is why you need accountability. And this is why it's so, so, so powerful. If you're someone that feels you need a little bit more accountability in your life and you're honest, I want you to put accountability in the chat, okay? Put accountability in the chat, and I'll see if I can ping something to you that'll help you maybe stay a little bit more accountable in due course, okay? So if that's you, make sure to put that accountability. I like Cinderloo there. We've got I put my hand up, and then when you said it a second time, I stood up to get it even higher. I've got to say this quick story because this is hilarious. So I did this once at a seminar in China, and I said the same thing. And I said, I want you to raise it even higher, right? I had someone jump on top of a table. This is in a seminar, raise his hand, and he smacked the projector. And honestly, I'm going to end it there, but let's just say I've learned my lesson, which is why I like to just make you aware of your surroundings before you start doing that. Okay, fantastic. So we've gone through making yourself accountable. That's very, very important to help you move forward. So then we've got something called focus on the next step. Now, if you've ever felt like butter spread over too much bread, I want you to put a bread emoji in the chat, okay? If that's you and you've ever felt like butter spread over too much bread, and you know what I mean, I want you to put a bread in the chat right now. And I'm going to explain exactly what this is and how to overcome this. So I want you to imagine we are playing a chess game, okay? If you've never played chess, you're just going to have to guess, okay? If we're playing a chess game, and I am NJ Peace, Ashley, love that you guys are putting some bread in the chat, and Nina, I love that you've got a croissant in there as well as a baguette. That's amazing. Okay, so if we're playing a chess game and we're starting to move forward, right? I will think about a strategy. And I will think about a strategy. I can sit there and I can think, and I can come up with the best chess strategy in the world. Now, if someone does something that is completely unexpected, my strategy goes down the toilet. Suddenly, it doesn't matter because I'm in reaction. Like I need to think maybe a few steps ahead, but that's it. Now, this is what happens with procrastination. People get too overwhelmed with everything that's going on. They are, quote unquote, butter spread over too much bread. So what does this mean? It means we need to do something different to move you out of that. So what do we have to do? It's so simple. You just need to focus on the next thing. Like, what is the next thing that you need to do? Not everything you need to do today, not all these plans you need to accomplish. Like, what is the single thing that you need to do? Whenever you're procrastinating, I just want you to do this. Like, what is my next step? And then you can also add something in. And I heard this off a brilliant entrepreneur. She said, just for today, I'm going to do this. Just for today, I'm going to look at that. Just for today, hit my mic there. Just for today, I'm going to move myself forward in a different way. Now, why is that important? Because we're giving ourselves permission. It's just for today, I'm going to give it a go. So, sorry, I just read Tasnin. I'm bread spread all over the kitchen table. I thought that was hilarious. I appreciate that. Oh, you guys are very creative today. I'm loving this interaction. Okay, so what does this mean? It means too often we're attempting to take on the elephant. We're doing it one bite at a time. You need to break down overwhelming tasks and actually simplify it in a way where you can focus on the next step. There's too many people that are just guessing what to do. They're attempting to do everything once, as opposed to taking a step back. So what we need to be able to do is to focus very clearly on what step needs to happen in order for you to be able to move forward more sustainably. So I'll give you one example that, for example, I really struggled with. So as I mentioned, I did the TED Talk in Chinese. Now, when I first started, I was like, holy moly, this isn't going to happen. Now I'm overwhelmed. I was like, do I do it in Chinese? Do I write it? Do I listen to it? Do I learn it off by heart? Do I get my Chinese level up? Like, what do I do? And I was overwhelmed for 2 weeks and I had no idea what to do. And it was just completely overwhelming. And then I took a step back and I said, okay, I need to create a very simple plan. And then I just need to focus on the next step and keep it really simple. And I said, right, step one, write it in English. That's going to happen. So then I went through that step. And then I said, step two, translate it to Chinese. So I did that. And then I started getting feedback. And if you can just go through that, just like in a chess game, you can then get the resources you need in order to move forward. There's too many people that are actually procrastinating when they're stuck in this information overload. They're getting all this information, but you do not need it at this stage of your journey. It doesn't make sense. So this is where sometimes holding yourself back, mastering what you have now, focusing on the next step is the most important thing to enable you to move forward in a way that actually works. Okay, so we are 6 down, 2 to go. This is a really, really important one, this next one. Probably my favorite, and actually the most important one that I have found has helped kept me on track. I want you to imagine a glass cylinder on a table. And next to it, we've got some rocks, we've got some gravel, I've got some sand, and I've got a big glass of water. Okay? So I want you to imagine that this glass cylinder is all the time that you have in your day. Now, the rocks are your main priorities. They're the things that you need to get done. The gravel are your day-to-day priorities. Your sand represents interruptions, and the water is everything else you get hit with during the day. Why is this important? Because if you do what most people do, you get hit by everything else. Okay, so water goes in first, then sand, then you've got some day-to-day stuff that you need to do, gravel comes in, and guess what? The rocks never fit inside the glass. So what we need to do instead is we need to do reverse. We need to schedule in the big rocks, get them in there. Then you put in your day-to-day responsibilities, and then the sand, and then the interruptions, and the water, and then everything will fit in perfectly. But too often, we're attempting to move ourselves forward in a way that's just unsustainable. So a daily schedule is the key in order to move forward in a way that really, really works for you. I actually wrote an article on like 5 of the best planners that I found out there. If you guys want that, can you just put planner in the chat and I can just send you a quick link and you guys can check out some planners. If you want like a daily schedule planner, really, really important. I just sent one to one of my clients. He's getting started today. The aim is really important to have that daily schedule. And I think it's really important not to just have everything online, but daily to write stuff down, because it's so much more rewarding, like crossing something out and being able to see it visually than seeing on a chart and moving around. So make sure that you've got that, because what it will do is it will just help you move forward in a really, really sustainable way. So with that said, we've got our daily schedule, and there's a few elements that I think are very important there. And this is where you want to block your day into certain elements. And I can see everyone putting planner in the chat. I will get back to you afterwards. I'm going to send you that. Make sure to get one. I don't procrastinate on the planner. The planner is quite an important part. So when it comes to this daily schedule, there's a few things that are really important to look out for. One of the things you want to make sure you have is what we're going to move on to, which is number 8, which is taking a break. It's called mini breaks. Now, I wanted to give you a quick story about how not to do the planner. So there was a chap that I worked with that was running 3 businesses, okay? And his name was Charlie, and he was building up his businesses. They were going well, but one of the things that he showed me was his schedule. Now, I want to see if there's anyone like this. So if you're someone that tends to put way too much into your day, as in you tend to put like task after task after task. Like if you were superhuman, maybe you would get through that. If that's you, I just want you to put a big smiley face in the chat, because I want to put a big Cheshire cat grin for those of you that tend to put way too much in your day to day. I want you to put a big smiley face, a Cheshire cat grin. Okay, Shay, I appreciate that. Is there anyone else? Let's see. We've got Dawn, we've got Christina. I love these. Oh, we've got some fun emojis there. Okay. Why is that important? Because when he showed me his thing, I said, that is an awesome plan. Tell me, how much of it do you do? He showed me, and he was literally doing about 25%. Now, why is that important? Because too often we're attempting to do everything. We go, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to meditate for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to work out, and then I'm going to check my finances, my crypto, then I'm going to have a sales call. That's going to be exactly 30 minutes. It's not going to go over. They're going to turn up on time. I'm going to market for 15 minutes, and then 18 minutes, I'm going to have a workout. I'm going to shower in 5, eat my food in 3, and then I'm on to my next sales call. And too often, you set unrealistic things, and then you wonder why you procrastinate, because you look at it and you're like, oh, whoa. There is no way I'm doing that right now. That just sounds stressful. Now, why is this important? Because too often we're getting ourselves overwhelmed by attempting to jam pack our day. It's not like a sandwich where you can take a massive bite, right? No, it's not the same thing. I love that. I enjoyed that sandwich. That cracked me up. Okay, I'm going to use that from now on. So I appreciate you guys being here for this part of spontaneity. So this is where this next element, take a break, is really key, but there's a specific element there, and it's called the mini break or the buffer. Now, both of these strategies in and of itself is one of the best ways to help you move forward, okay? Now, what does this mean? This means you need to be able to schedule in these mini breaks or these buffers in between tasks. Why? You need space to deal with gravel, to deal with sand, to deal with water, other things that you've got coming your way. Most people attempt to fill their day of rocks and forget they've got other things going on. So what's really important is making sure that you are on track in a way that works for you, where you can have these mini breaks built into your schedule. Now, the buffer, you can add that at the end of each task or at the beginning, or you can add a buffer at the end of the week. Once again, that gives you the space to then deal with different challenges, especially if you're an entrepreneur. You want to add space to what you're doing, because what it can do is it can really allow you to move forward in a way that is much, much more sustainable and actually make it happen. Now, I know we're going to be coming to an end very shortly. I'm going to be chatting to you guys on Clubhouse probably for another 15 minutes. I'm going to take some questions. But one thing that I do want to be able to do is this. If you're someone that feels like you need some more support, you've listened to this and you're like, yeah, I need some more things, then I want you to put a number 10 in the chat. Okay, put a 10 in the chat and I'll get back to you and we can chat about giving you some more support, sending some stuff your way that I think will be helpful. I've got some articles, I've got loads of different stuff. I've got a master guide to overcome procrastination. Put a 10, I can send loads of things your way, but make sure to put that 10 there because I don't have time to go through everyone because there'll be lots of people here. So please do put that in. The next thing is the following. I decided for next week that I would do a certain topic. Okay. Now the topic is overcoming the 6 types of procrastination. Now people have told me about this time and time again. This is one of my best pieces of content, hands down. The crisis creator, the avoider, the dreamer, it's badass. If you guys are excited for that and you want to understand revenge procrastination, things like that, put a fire emoji in the chat. If that's you and you want to join that, put a fire emoji in the chat. We will be here at 3 p.m. UK time live, so you guys can interact. So I've got Karash ready to rock and roll. I've got Shay. Cool. I'm liking this. Alan, Melanie. All right. Yeah. Today's a hot one. You guys are ready to rock and roll. Kafago, yes, I know you haven't received the banner yet. But that's because I'm live. And unfortunately, as good as I am, I'm not a ninja. Do bear with me. And Lena, yeah, for Clubhouse, just type in Ben Ivy. It'll come up. And you guys can connect. So with that said, I'm going to be ending this live. We're going to be going and chatting to you guys on Clubhouse to answer any questions that you have. So I want to say thank you so much for joining. It's been so much fun having you guys here. And now we're going to be going into Clubhouse for some conversations. So thank you, and I will see you next week. All right.